I'd really like to see them somehow get like Ezekiel Jackson or Raw or something, so they could team up or something. Because I really don't know like who Kendrick's gonna team up with or anything. I'd have to go over the roster and make a prediction about it, but I'm too tired right now to really think. So it's like 1:30 in the morning. So what's next? Okay, so then we're gonna get our exhibition match. Big Show comes out to the ring. This is kind of where the theme of the shirt comes into play here, like on this match or whatever. But like, Big Show comes out, just stands by the announcer table watching him, and then Cena comes out, not really selling his injuries or anything, not like walking real slow or anything. So, which is stupid because last week he got beat up, in his internal injuries and whatever, and he's technically not medically cleared to wrestle. And then Miz comes out next and basically trash talks Cena before he gets to the ring, makes fun of 12 rounds, makes fun of Cena's rap CD and stuff. Um, so then we get our exhibition match, and then basically like the rules of it is like Vicky Guerrero's like gonna be the one to stop the match or something if someone can't continue, I guess. So I don't get why it couldn't have been like a round type match or something. I don't know. I don't know. I think if they'd have just made it a regular wrestling match, it would have just been better. So, but here's what doesn't make any sense though. Like okay, I'm like, Miz looked pretty good in the match. Like he had a lot of offense against Cena. Cena makes his comeback, and then he's looking at Big Show while he's doing it, and then he's getting ready to finish Miz off with an FU or something, or an attitude adjustment as they call it now. I should just call it FU. It's not like he's saying, fuck you, it's just the FU. But he's getting ready to finish off Miz, and then Vicky Guerrero shows up in the ring, excuse me, and then she's like, stops the match. And then, basically, what did she say? She said, oh, she was like, Cena, you have no chance against Big Show, at Judgment Day. So then Cena's like, confused, turns around. Miz kicks him, DDTs him, and like, Big Show's looking at him or something, and then, I'm waiting for Big Show just to like get in the ring and, annihilate Cena again. And Lawler even says, things may go from bad to worse for Cena, but then it's like, commercial break. Nothing happens, So, this segment didn't make any sense. Like, Cena didn't sell his injuries. Big Show, didn't attack him or anything. I really understand how they really like hyped their match for Judgment Day with this segment. This is where the shirt comes in. I have no idea what's going on because I don't understand how this segment really hyped their match. I mean, it made Miz look good, don't get me wrong, but I don't understand how it hyped the match, So, yeah, you could even see it on my notes right here. Nothing happened, So, next we get Orton and Rhodes backstage, and Orton basically tells Cody to go find Batista and take him out, prove yourself to me. So then we get Chavo, Vicky, and Santino backstage again. She seems to get a lot of this tonight, too. So has like Rosa Mendez show up and just like reluctantly like, she doesn't want to kiss Santina Marella, and she kisses her, and then Santina's like, kind of turned on by it, which wouldn't blame him because Rosa's pretty sexy and all, but, then like, starts kissing him or something, and then, Santina's like, I'm a lesbian, I don't know. I can understand them wanting to do a comedy angle, but I just still can't get behind the storyline. So then we get backstage again. Cody Rhodes looking for Batista with a pipe in his hand. He opens the door. Hornswoggle runs past them. Gives a fuck about that. And then basically, like, he sees Batista, and then Batista beats him up. So, thus it's going to be like, one-on-one tonight, Orton versus Batista. So then we get Beth Phoenix versus Santina Marella, one-on-one, and I didn't really care for this match much. Beth Phoenix looked pretty good, I thought. Like, she bench pressed, Santina over his head. She's really strong. So, like, I'll give her props for that, but otherwise I didn't really give a crap about this match or whatever. So, Santina won with a small package, you know. I think if I, like, watched the speech stick for 5 minutes or something, that would have been, like, more entertaining than this match or something. So, I just didn't care for it. So let's see, what else we got? Cena backstage with Josh Matthews. Cena talks about hard times, how everybody in America and the world is in hard times or something, but how we adapt and overcome. And then he says he's going to overcome Big Show and he's going to win or something. So, good for you, Cena. I don't think he'd want to wrestle without winning anyway, so that's just my opinion. So then we get a recap of Regal costing MVP his match against Cody Rhodes last week. How he clipped his leg from behind. And then we get a VIP lounge. Basically, MVP doing his usual thing. Big things popping, little things stopping. And then he calls Regal out. And then Regal comes out and, talks about how he was, GM of Raw last year and King of the Ring. And on a side note, I really liked Regal as the GM of Raw. I really liked the one show where he kept turning the lights on and off or whatever just because, he's just showing off his power and stuff. I just thought that was hilarious, like that Raw that he did that. So, that was cool. But going back to this, though, so Regal comes out and brags about how he's, he was GM, he's King of the Ring. Talks about how, he got unjustifiably lost his position, because at the time he got suspended. And, basically, he talks about how, like, MVP and the draft picks are leapfrogging over him, he's not getting his chances, blah, blah, blah. MVP's like, you know what, like, you're miserable, and while these people and myself are balling, you're boring. And then Regal says, MVP represents the United States and that he's, like, arrogant, misguided, and, what was the other fun word he had? I wrote it down here, let's see. I'm just tired. I want to know what he said. Oh, yeah. Arrogant, misguided, and despised by, the world. And then Matt Hardy comes out and, bitches about his hand being broken again. And how he sent letters to WWE officials and stuff and they've ignored him or something. Which, again, goes back to my whole, get fired, collect unemployment thing, or, sue the company for, being, like, biased against you, prejudiced against you, discriminating against you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, this, Cena could have technically done this too, because he's that medically cleared to wrestle, but they were making him wrestle. So Cena and Matt Hardy should look into that, teaming up and suing the company for something like that. It won't happen, but I'm just saying. So going back to this, after Matt Hardy bitches about his hand, he says that he wants to be the first guy to get a shot against MVP's U.S. title when he's healed up because he's beaten MVP more times than anybody. And then after he says that, like, Kofi comes out and attacks Matt Hardy from behind. And then, he's beating him up. And then Chavo comes out and says, Vicky makes the match tonight. That's going to be MVP and Kofi against Regal and Matt Hardy in a tag team match. And this was the best match of the show, I thought. Let's see. Basically, like, it was back and forth, pretty much. And one thing that was weird during this match was Lawler actually, for, like, the first time in, like, weeks, he actually, like, a heel commentator for once. Because if you've ever watched, like, a lot of, like, the WWF shows, like, in the mid to late 90s, during the Attitude Era, he was a heel commentator. He always supported the bad guys. He always, like, especially during the McMahon Stone Cold feud, he'd always, like, support McMahon and, be like, oh, Austin should go to jail and blah, 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 Did some good heel stuff. But then it's like over the years, he's just become, like, neutral to a good guy face. But for some reason, he was acting like a heel in this match. He was being sympathetic of Matt Hardy wrestling with a broken hand and being injured and blah, blah, blah. I just thought that was kind of weird. So, but anyway, MVP and Kofi won. MVP kicked Regal in the face in the corner with his big kick, and then he beat him with a playmaker. Then we get to our main event. Orton comes out. It's going to be Orton versus Batista. Orton comes out on the mic and says that, like, they don't need